Welcome to The Connector, where we connect North Carolina to ideas and North Carolinians to each other. This podcast series is from the Institute for Emerging Issues at North Carolina State University. And now to the conversation.
Hello and welcome to The Connector. I'm your host, Sarah Hall, Director of the Institute for Emerging Issues at NC State University. We've been diving into workforce development recently on the podcast, and today's episode features another organization that is thinking outside the box when it comes to preparing the next generation for future careers, this time by focusing on teachers, a very timely topic given that many of our K-12 students return to school this week. The Kenan Fellows Program for Teacher Leadership invests in teachers as a way to empower students. At IEI, we value this approach as well, and in partnership with the Public Consulting Group, we were able to bring K-12 educators from across the state to participate in this year's Emerging Issues Forum so they could then go ahead and bring it back to their classroom. Through the Kenan Fellows flagship Industry Immersion Fellowships, K-12 educators gain firsthand insight into the workforce and then take those experiences back to their classrooms, better preparing their students for the future. Their STEM Work Institutes, Mountains to Sea program, and Not Your Average PD program also provide innovative and unique experiences for educators going beyond traditional professional development. And some of you might not know, but our programs here at IEI and the Kenan Fellows are actually related. And what I mean by that is that we were both created out of the Kenan Institute for Engineering, Technology, and Science, championed by Ruben Carbonell and Raj Narayan. So huge thank you to them for helping us become the organizations we are today. I'm excited to talk with Kenan Fellows Program Director, Dr. Vance Kite, and Assistant Director, Mark Townley, today about their innovative work. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, congratulations on 25 years of the Kenan Fellows Program for Teacher Leadership. Oftentimes, I think of the words internship and apprenticeship or even fellowship. They bring to mind a program where students get to work at a company or an organization and experience what it's like to be in the workforce. The Kenan Fellows Program turns that on its head and gives those opportunities to teachers so they can better understand the skills and careers their students need to be prepared for careers in various industries. So can you give our listeners an overview of your program, how it got started, how it works, and teaser alert, we know it came out of the Kenan Institute. So.
Well, thanks for having us on today, Sarah. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Yes, the Kenan Fellows Program for Teacher Leadership is an initiative of the Kenan Institute for Engineering, Technology, and Science. We were actually started in the year 2000, so this year is our 25th anniversary. Initially, when we were founded in 2000, the intent was that STEM education needed improvement. There was research happening in university labs. The researchers wanted students who were prepared to come into their labs, but they weren't really seeing that in their kind of day-to-day work. So the hope from the Kenan Institute was to spin up a program that would provide teachers who are currently teaching K-12 students with experiences in research labs so that they could come to understand that work, with the hope being that they would then translate that work to their students in their classrooms. So for our first 10 years or so, we provided a 2-year fellowship that was for K-12 educators. Those K-12 educators would spend, at that time, 5 to 6 weeks each summer immersed in a university research lab. And then they would also participate in professional development institutes that worked on their leadership, their pedagogy, their classroom culture, etc. In 2012, 2013, we switched our model to being a 1-year fellowship model, where those of us who were fellows, I myself was a fellow in 2012-13, spent about 3 weeks in the summer in an industry immersion, and then we received about 80 hours of professional development that focused on our teaching, our leadership, and our classroom culture. So over the several years since then, since really 2012, 2013, our flagship program has been a 1-year program, as I just mentioned, that has those major components of an industry immersion, of 80 hours of teacher professional development. We also provide a $5,000 stipend, and the teachers produce a capstone project that translates what they learned in their experience out into the classrooms. Now, I will note, since we're talking about workforce development today, in the early years of the Kenan Fellows program, those immersion experiences really focused on research laboratories. So labs here at NCSU, labs at UNC Chapel Hill, UNC Charlotte, etc. About 10-ish years ago, we diversified the immersion experience by starting to add in industry partners. And really over the last 10 or so years, we have shifted such that the bulk of our immersion experiences during the summer for the teachers are actually with local industries or community colleges. Every now and then we've got a couple of research labs that are still in the mix year to year, but right now the bulk of our teachers are spending their summers learning about clean energy. They are learning about community college offerings. They are learning about the trades. They are learning about advanced manufacturing, biotechnology, big technology. But really they are getting a firsthand look at what students will need to be successful in the industries of the future and with the companies that are actually in their home communities. I will note, as you mentioned, Sarah, that while the fellowship is our flagship, over the last 4 to 5 years, we have spun up a number of other programs. Each of those programs have got a component that focuses on teachers' pedagogical development and a component that focuses on industry or community partner experiences. And all of them were built with the intent to re-engage our fellowship alumni and keep them engaged with the program. So about 5 years ago, we started the STEMworks Scholars Program. That program focuses on project-based learning. And rather than providing 3-week immersions in the summers, we provide teams of teachers with a series of 4 or 5 half or full day industry site visits in their home community. And really the intent behind that program was to expose teams of teachers to project-based learning and then give them industry connections that they could use to build project-based units around to provide to their students. During 2020, 2021, we got Mountains to Sea Scholars going, which is a program we run for 20 teachers annually from one of the state's regions. The intent of the program is to give teachers a statewide perspective on a single topic. So for example, we're getting ready to work through climate change and community resiliency. We would take a group of teachers from, say, the mountains, and we would use a series of in-person and virtual visits to show them what that topic looks like in the mountains, Piedmont, and then on the coast. And then finally, our newest offering, spun up in 2024, is Not Your Average PD. It is a series of 3 one-hour live stream professional development events during the spring semester. Those PD offerings are provided by our alumni on a topic of their choosing and are available to all teachers, really actually all education stakeholders across the nation. So that's pretty much who we are, how we got to where we are. The last thing I will note is that the most important mantra that undergirds everything we do, it is our philosophy that guides our work and our thinking, is the simple statement that teachers are professionals, period. They are worthy of respect and investment. And that idea of investing in teachers guides all of the work that we do here at KFP. All of our programs we see as being an investment into those teachers so that we can enhance the capacity of those teachers to lead in their classrooms and to prepare their teachers for the future workforce.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. You were here in 2014 when we held our Emerging Issues Forum on world-class teaching workforce. And that was really the message, is that teachers are professionals that are guiding workforce development, economic development and growth and innovation. They are the seeds for the future. And so we were pleased then to highlight the work of the program, and it's great to hear you sort of reinforce that again. So Vance, clearly there's a direct benefit to industry, right? Because it's an awareness issue of these programs. It's a direct benefit to the students, but can you say a little bit more about the direct benefit to the fellows themselves and why teachers should consider becoming a Kenan Fellow?
I mean, do we have all day? No,
we don't.
I'll be pretty brief. So there's a number of reasons that teachers should apply. I would say the major one is that core philosophy. Any teacher that applies to one of our programs, we hope to feel that across the course of their time with us, that we have invested in them, that we have provided them with new resources, that we have given them inspiring experiences, and that we have prepared them to better serve their students. We also work very hard to elevate our teachers as leaders in their fields, to get them seats at the table where either their voice or a teacher's voice may not have been previously represented. We provide them with a statewide network of support and resources, and more importantly, inspiration. We hear so frequently from our teachers that they draw inspiration and motivation and ideas from the other teachers that are in their cohorts. And very often we see statewide collaborations spring up with teachers who are on different sides of the state, bringing their classrooms together to produce really cool and innovative work. I'm a little bit biased, but I got a lot of data to back up my assertion that we provide some of the best professional development in the country. We provide all of our teachers with ongoing opportunities. We are not a one and done program. We provide teachers with enough programs ourselves to keep them engaged for about 4 years. But even beyond that, we provide ongoing opportunities to re-engage. And then I'll just say, it's taken us a little bit of time to come to understand this, but I've been in some pretty deep research mode over the last year or two, and I've come to realize that we are the only program of our nature in the country. There are groups that do the PD side of things. There are groups that do the industry immersion side of things. We are the only one that puts those two together in a meaningful and robust way. So if you're a teacher in North Carolina, we're the only one in the nation. Come see us.
That's right. I mean, and talk about a national model. It's just a matter of time before other states replicate this and steal our competitive advantage. I don't know. Actually, I'm a big supporter of all teachers, no matter where you are, but particularly here in North Carolina. Yeah. And Vance, let me just also share, just hearing anecdotally from those who have been in the program, I think just taking that break to reflect and focus on themselves and their leadership is a valuable tool, and maybe it fuels that ability to keep going and keep doing the great work. Yeah. So the next question I wanted to ask is really about, you get teachers that are just the best of the best that apply to this program, and you also have many success stories. You talked about some of the collaboration from across the state, but even some alumni who have advised, state leadership, including the governor, who have received national notoriety. So tell us about some of those success stories.
I will. Before I jump into some specific examples, though, I want to take a second to dispel a common misconception about the program. I have heard it told to me, Mark hears this very frequently. A lot of teachers are intimidated to apply for the Kenan Fellows program because they think we are looking for the best of the best teacher, the teacher that has won all the Teacher of the Year awards, who does all the things, who gets all the grants, who is already kind of like a superstar in their districts. And that is actually not at all what we are looking for. Internally, we say that we are looking for what we call high potential or high leverage teachers. And these are teachers that are really looking to immerse themselves deeply in our programs and serve their communities. And as we go through our application season every year, we are really trying to figure out, okay, is this a teacher that is just trying to add Kenan Fellows to their resume line items? Or is this a teacher that is really going to dive into our experience and then leverage the resources that we give them for the benefit of their education community? So if you are that teacher that is looking to immerse, I don't care if you are a second-year teacher or a 29th year teacher, if you are going to dig in deep and serve your community, you're the type that should be applying for a fellowship. With regard to specific stories, I got a couple of here. So the first one I want to mention is Eric Eaton. Eric Eaton was a 2023-2024 fellow from Polk County. He did his immersion experience with the Southern Appalachian Wilderness Stewards out in Western Carolina. And his fellowship really focused on preparing groups who are not typically comfortable being in the outdoors to be in the outdoors. He then took that experience and spun it up into a whole curriculum for his classroom. And interestingly, Eric is a social studies teacher. So from his fellowship, he went on to incorporate a ton of outdoor-based learning into his social studies class. He started providing professional development for his district widely around how to incorporate more outdoor-based learning into your classroom. And then he actually came back around as one of our faculty. Our faculty are a group of 8 to 10 alumni who come back to design and provide PD for the next cohort. Interestingly, Eric came to us in his 29th year in the classroom. He could have retired the next year, his 30th year. And when he was done with his fellowship, he said, no, like, I'm energized, I'm ready to go, I've got more to give. So he is now in year 32 or 33, going strong and intends to stay in the classroom. I will mention Rachel Candasso. She is a 24-25 fellowship alumni from Pitt County. She did her immersion experience with Nutrien out in Aurora on the coast to learn about their work in the minerals industry. And then Rachel actually went on a pretty steep leadership trajectory from there. At the end of her fellowship year, she was selected as the North Carolina Teacher of the Year. Immediately after that, Rachel became both teacher advisor to Governor Josh Stein and the chair of the Governor's Teacher Advisory Board. I will mention with regard to teacher advisors to the governor, the last 3 have been our alumni, Rachel Dyson Passione and Latanya Patillo. And then speaking kind of nationally, I'll mention Joanne Blumenfeld. She was a 2015-2016 fellow from Wake County. She did her immersion experience actually here at NC State. She went on to start the Catalyst program here at NC State, which really focuses on preparing students with learning differences for careers in STEM. In 2022, Joanne was recognized as one of Time Magazine's innovative educators. So she really has received national notoriety, particularly for her work with that Catalyst program.
Well, thank you for sharing those. You did forget one, because one alumni went off to become the director of the Kenan Fellows program. So you are an alumni of the program, and you're the first alum to actually take this role. So what has that experience been like?
Humbling. I think we'll go with humbling. No, it was, so I was a 2012, 2013 fellow when I was still teaching in Durham Public Schools. And I will say that experience catalyzed my journey. After my fellowship year, I had the opportunity, well, let me back that up. During my fellowship year, I always say that I found my people. You know, I became a fellow in my 5th year as an educator. I was kind of the weird bird in the building. Like, my classroom didn't look like anybody else's classrooms. My students were doing weird things. Like, they loved my class, but my class was different from all the other classrooms in the building. And so when I came into my fellowship, I found myself among a cohort of teachers who were also the weird birds in their buildings. They were all doing interesting and innovative things. I found my people. I found a group of lifelong collaborators, one of them being Mark Townley, our associate director, who you're going to talk to in a second. And then from that point on, I had the opportunity to join the very first group of Kenan Fellows faculty that designs and provides PD for the new incoming fellows in the other programs. And then from there, I just say I was kind of like the kid who graduated high school and never really went away. I found ways to stay involved with the program, but being an alumni of the program, I think colors my thinking about where the program is headed, the work we should be doing, what should be important to us, because I can draw on the way that I felt during a program. I can draw on what I learned from the program, what I took away, and what it did for me as an educator. And really, like, I will say, okay, yes, I am director of the program, but on our team of 6, 4 of us are fellows alumni. And so 4 out of 6 are teachers who were in the classroom. We all did our fellowships. And so our whole team is actually guided by a pretty deep understanding of what this fellowship can do for an educator, and then trying to essentially continue that work forward, to continue to steward forward the impact of this program that has got a statewide profile and that does change the trajectory and the outlook of teachers. So I think for all of us, our experience informs the work we do, but I think mostly We are humbled by getting to do this work, and we feel a deep responsibility to ensure that the program continues to be as impactful for other educators as it was for us.
Excellent. So you mentioned the vision a little bit. Is there anything else you want to share about sort of the future of the program and what's next?
It's interesting. I saw these questions beforehand, and I saw the question about kind of laying out my vision for the program, which I've been thinking about really just in the last several months to have a way to articulate our vision. And Mark hasn't even heard this yet. So this is going to be like first round one. So in talking about vision for the program, and when I say vision, I'm talking 5-10 years down the road. I kind of want to lay it out for you in 4 pictures. So right now, one of the iconic images for Kenan Fellows is a map of North Carolina. It's got a dot for every one of our fellows that we have had across our 25-year history. We have had 644 fellows in 81 of the state's counties. So as you can imagine, there's this map of North Carolina, and it is filled with dots. There are only a handful of counties that we have not been in. So kind of the first part of the vision would be to take that state map and make it a national map, where we have got dots for Kenan Fellows that are all the way across the country. We are currently in discussions about potentially having our first fellows across the border in Virginia. That'll be funding dependent, but it is an ongoing conversation. I could foresee slowly starting to expand our footprint across the Southeast, and then from there, we'll see where opportunities and partnerships take us. So first image is national map with dots for Kenan Fellows. The second image would be kind of like that clip art icon of a phone ringing off the hook. In many ways, we understand that we are a highly unique model and that we offer a compelling and effective framework for making teachers aware of future workforce skills and pathways so that they can use that awareness and resources to prepare their students for the future workforce. So my hope is, and the thing we are working towards, is to be a go-to organization. When a company comes to North Carolina and are thinking about, okay, how do we prepare our future workforce to come work at our biotech company or big tech company or whatever, I want Kenan Fellows to be the first thought that comes to mind if they are thinking, yes, I need to build my future workforce. The third image I would put out there for you would be of a plaque. In North Carolina, winning a Kenan Fellowship is one of the most prestigious awards that an educator can win. I would like that to grow such that it is a nationally prestigious award in the same way that an Einstein Fellowship or similar is. And then the final image would be of the educator, because everything we do focuses on the educator. And in this case, the image could be of an educator on a stage speaking or an educator at a boardroom table. Our goal is to empower our educators to be voices for the profession and have seats at the tables where the decisions are actually made. So often decisions are made about education without actual educators in the room. And so our goal is to elevate our teachers into positions where they do have big stages and can talk to lots of people, but also where they can get into the rooms where the work actually happens and they can actually influence decisions. So I'd say 4 pictures: national map with dots, phone ringing, a plaque, and then a teacher on a stage or in a boardroom.
You're speaking my language because I think in visuals. So that was really, really helpful.
Great.
So my last question for you before we turn it over to Mark is, if you're a weird bird or odd bird educator out there who is interested in being a Kenan Fellow, where can they go to learn more?
Yeah, so easiest place is kenanfellows.org. I will say that we are going to be launching a new website in January, but it is still kenanfellows.org. And your timing is perfect, because I believe we are going to open up our applications for our 26-27 fellowships in the middle of September.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And next we've got Mark Townley. And Mark, if I'm not mistaken, did we first met, were you a teacher ambassador for that 2014 Emerging Issues Forum?
I was still in the classroom. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to see you again, Sarah, and thanks for having us here to have this conversation. But yes, it's still one of the best summits I've ever been able to be a part of. A truly impactful moment in my career, along with my Kenan Fellowship, and two of the most memorable things that I got to experience. So thank you for that. It was a tremendously well done forum.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's a fun fact. So our Emerging Leaders Fellow at the time, John Coggin, when he saw your name on that list, he was like, that was my favorite teacher. And so it was just such a beautiful full circle moment, and you've been on my radar ever since. So, but anyways, well, let's start with you. So your role is really, you are connecting teachers with different companies and organizations around the state. Is there a particular industry or trade that the Kenan Fellows focus on?
Yeah, so we're always looking for opportunities to connect with trending industries in tech or advanced manufacturing, for example, in order to provide support to educators that want to teach the adaptable skills students need to be prepared for great jobs in those fields. In general, though, actually our first calls are usually to the school districts. We want to find out which companies are connecting with them and trying to engage with them. We do that because we want to work with partners that understand and believe, like us, in the power of great educators to be the pillars in the community that they can network through to reach thousands of students. So if you're interested in building a locally prepared, skilled workforce with students that understand the value of showing up to work on time and ready to go, then we are the education organization that can help.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And I know Kenan Fellows has several long-term workforce development partnerships with organizations throughout the state. So can you tell us about those and what makes them unique?
Yeah, so our longest partnerships have been with our friends at Ag in the Classroom, with the North Carolina Farm Bureau, and as well as the North Carolina Electric Cooperatives. These two organizations do so much for our rural communities in North Carolina, providing grant opportunities and multiple educational resources that teachers can use to grow in so many ways. We can proudly say now that every county in the state of North Carolina has had access to apply to a Kenan Fellowship, due in large part to support from partners like these. So all of our partners do a great job of staying engaged with their fellows after the fellowship year, but these two are exceptional models of this. The Farm Bureau fellow creates a national resource called an Ag Mag that highlights a North Carolina commodity like apples in Henderson County this year. And they invite all of their Kenan Fellows to events across the year every year. Both of these partners create a beautiful video of the fellows' experience, and the electric cooperatives give a game ball to their teacher at the halftime of an NCSU football or basketball game. And celebrating teachers in meaningful ways like this makes our experience significantly more sustainable, and it keeps everyone involved throughout, the partner, the educator, and everybody, the students, energized and engaged for years.
I love it. And so, Mark, what would you say to companies or organizations that are sort of on the fence about supporting a fellow? I mean, what's in it for them?
I appreciate that question. So, our partners appreciate the promotion of these experiences across our platforms, as well as other local, state, and national media. And our communications director does a fabulous job of that. Shout out to Amneris and her work. And there are multiple reasons why we are good for the community. For me, the best reason is that no one understands a community better than a teacher. And our partners describe the value of learning from our educators as much as our teachers receive support for their students. So our teachers have assisted global corporations with engaging with their employees more effectively, or better reaching underrepresented communities. So, when you focus only on students, as many people do, you're starting from scratch every year with a new group of kids. But if you support a teacher, the lessons that they create allow thousands of students to learn the workforce skills that they need experientially through multiple subjects. And the kids that go through that program don't just know about who you are and who your company is, but are also significantly better prepared to work for your company. So when you sponsor our program, you might host one teacher, but you immediately have access to the 644 educators that Vance mentioned across the state of North Carolina and beyond. And you are a significant part of reaching over 1 million students across all of our programs.
Now that is a return on investment that I think many of us can get behind because of that large scale and that ripple effect, in the community, right? So I'd love to hear that. You too have been with the Kenan Fellows program for a while, and so I'm going to ask the same question of you that I did of Vance, and that is, what success stories do you have about those who have participated in the program?
Oh gosh, yes, and there really are so many. And in my 8 years, most of my stories are about how we kept a great teacher in the classroom who was considering another path for what are usually external pressures outside of their control. Teachers are under-resourced, under-supported, disrespected, and certainly underpaid. And getting treated as the professionals they are is the bare minimum, least of all that we could do. Everything we create internally has this at the center of our work. And the three main components of our fellowship, the network, the immersion, and the professional development, have all been described fairly equally as the most impactful part of various of our fellow stories. There is one really great example, I think, that puts it all together, and that is Michelle Smith, who was also a Kenan Fellow in 2012 and 2013. She immersed with Fleet Readiness Center East in Havelock during her fellowship year and shared all of their opportunities, career trajectories, opportunity skills, taught those essential skills to her students for years. And after she retired with 20 plus years in the classroom, she became the education coordinator at FRC East and is now not only hosting Kenan Fellows, but she's working with engineers that were former students of hers that she encouraged and prepared to go into create a great career there. So she truly is proof that the formula works.
Yeah, talk about a full circle moment, right? So we have a lot of business leaders that listen to this podcast. And after hearing about that sort of ROI, I imagine many of them are going to be trying to find more information. So Mark, where can they go to get more information about how to partner with your program?
Oh, yes, I certainly hope so. And we'd love to talk to them. Vance and I often talk about one of our favorite things to do in our job. And that is to have a conversation with interesting people who are excited about their work and are looking for ways to connect into K through 12 settings, beyond money, right? So if you reach out to us, as Vance mentioned earlier, through KenanFellows.org, we will be so happy to start that conversation virtually or in person. We'll come to you, whatever you need. We are successful when the partner and the educator that we have invested in are equally happy with the experience. And we are unique in that we can co-create each fellowship with you to help address community needs or to bring people together in ways that are significantly more sustainable and impactful.
It's a win-win. Why wouldn't you do it, right? All right, so Mark, one final question for you, because we know you're also an alumni of the program. And I'm just curious, and maybe you were is it weird bird or odd bird? I can't remember what you said, but
definitely weird bird.
I'm just curious what drew you to the program and what your experience was like.
So, I was a lateral entry educator. I was a geologist and a field scientist before I was a teacher. And that kind of defined my teaching style, right? So that field scientist aspect. So when I applied for the Kenan Fellowship, I was actually 12 years into my teaching career. And I was looking to address some gaps in my curriculum that would provide those more experiential learning opportunities for my students. So my fellowship was about creating biofuels for jets from a saltwater algae and an oilseed plant. I had to figure out how to grow algae in a classroom during my weeks in that lab. And I think I was the Jack the Ripper of saltwater algae for my entire time before I finally figured out how to do it appropriately and properly in a class setting. But it truly allowed me to dive into a world-class biology lab at NC State University with Dr. Heike Sederoff and bridge that experiential gap that I had in my lessons between energy and the biosphere. I'm still connected with Dr. Sederoff, and both I and my students benefited directly from that experience for so many years, where I had students presenting at undergraduate symposiums and getting real research experience in her lab. So it was just such a tremendous connection that I've enjoyed. And that immersion paired with a family of support through our network that I still lean on regularly, daily, is still the most incredible experience I've ever had in my career.
I mean, what a testament to this program that folks then want to come back and help run the program. So we just launched the Strategic Workforce Leadership Initiative here. We're about to have our third cohort. And I think we've got a lot to learn from the Kenan Fellows program about both the experience, but also alumni engagement, because these are the leaders fueling the workforce of tomorrow. So, but before we close, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners about your work or teaching in North Carolina?
So I think one thing that I want to add, and it is in this vein of dispelling misconceptions about KFP. I have often heard that teachers come to Kenan Fellows program and then they swiftly exit the classroom. And, honestly, Mark and I are not great examples as we are not in the classroom. But Mark said, and often says, that our fellows that come to us, we prepare them to lead in the way that they want to lead. And we have got very good data that shows that 90% of our fellows actually remain in the classroom for 5 years after their fellowship experience. So those of us who exited the classroom are the ones that, end up being visible. But the bulk of our teachers actually stay in the classroom longer than they normally would have. They are better resourced, they are energized to do their work, and they are the ones that put their heads down and give kids great experiences day in and day out, regardless of what is going on around them. So KFP does not exit teachers from the classroom. We are actually a lever for keeping teachers in the classroom longer.
Thank you for sharing that, because after hearing the both of you, someone might come to that conclusion. So appreciate that data point. Mark, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, so, Vance mentioned, and you had asked the question about who we're looking for as a Kenan Fellow. And the thing I always like to point out is that years of experience do not mark a veteran teacher. And so if any teacher, just by applying, you're showing yourself worthy of a Kenan Fellowship. You are seeking growth and more support for you and for your community. And I'm going to throw another plug for our application period, which we're setting to open on September 19th. And we would just love to learn about the amazing things that you're doing in your schoolhouse and for your community. And if you're a partner that wants to create these experiences, co-create these things with us, then reach out. We would love to see how we can help.
Wonderful. Well, once again, I want to thank our guests with the Kenan Fellow Program for Teacher Leadership, Dr. Vance Kite and Mark Townley. To learn more about the Kenan Program for Teacher Leadership, visit KenanFellows.org. And until next time, let's all stay connected.
This has been a presentation from the Institute for Emerging Issues at North Carolina State University. To learn more, please visit us at emergingissues.org.